Welcome back to Veg Plot. This week we're in the polytunnel to start with, and then we're going up to the other allotment. It's an awful lot to do, isn't there? March is just around the corner and there's just lots of things to get excited about. We're going to plant up these peonies I mentioned in the last video, so I've got 3 tubs ready for these to go in. We've got seeds to plant. I've got sweet peas to plant that I want to get in the ground. I've got other various things as well, so we'll do a little bit of that. But also I've got to prune and harvest all the Mad Hatter peppers and the spaghetti chilies, which actually I'm going to be putting seeds up on my website if you want some of these to grow them. Not too late, I wouldn't start them till beginning of March anyway, so these will be available if you want to get hold of some of these. Right, these Mad Hatter peppers are quite sweet, they're not hot. They don't get much bigger than this, but it does make them a really interesting thing to cook with in the kitchen. Obviously you can just slice them up and use them in salads and things like that, or chop them up thinly and put them on pizzas and things. But what I like to do is if you get a knife and you just cut the top off, you can see this, so you just cut the top off and then just left with the seeds sort of inside, and you can just take your knife and you can just, I don't know if you can see this, just run it around the inside bit here. A bit difficult on camera. And then basically you can hook the seeds out. Give it a bit of a clean. So basically what I'm doing is I've taken the seeds out. You can see it leaves an empty little cavity. And then what you can do is you can stuff this with sort of cream cheese or anything else like that you fancy. And you can put this in the oven, bit of olive oil on it, and then bake it, and they're really nice. There are other ways to do things too, but they're quite nice. I think you see similar things to this in jars in sort of supermarkets and things, but yeah, so they're quite nice like that. But as I say, you can just chop them up. There's no real warmth to them. They're sort of sweeter around the edges on these sort of ridged bits, and slightly warmer around where the seeds are, but they aren't that hot at all. And I think another name for them actually is Bishop's Hat. But anyway, yeah, these are Mad Hatters. So the plants are really profuse. They'll just produce lots and lots for you. I've had mine this year growing in a grow bag here, and that seems to suit them fine. You can grow them in pots or in the ground. They obviously, like all chilies and peppers and things, like a bit of warmth, so they do need to be grown indoors. You know, greenhouse, polytunnel, conservatory, if you've got lots of light, you know, that'll do it. The plants can get to a decent size. I was trying to work out how tall these are. It's sort of 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, so between 4 and 5 foot. So they can get quite large, but they're quite an open habit. So, you know, they're quite nice to grow. They're looking obviously very straggly now, but that's because they shouldn't really be even producing fruit this time of the year. It's quite extraordinary, really. I had expected them to die off long before this. Anyway, I'm going to take all the fruits off, and then we're going to prune them down, and then hopefully what I'll do is encourage them to shoot from all these leaf nodes and so on, and then we should get some good plants sort of and fruits earlier on in the season in 2025. Right, that's what I've got from that one plant, and we've got 2 others on the ground, so I'll do those again in a minute. But now let's just prune them down. Now I had these bits of wood in here because they tend to flop over, so the best thing is now is to come in and give them a prune just above where they divide here. I could take them lower down, which I might do in a bit, but for the moment I'm just going to prune on these side branches, prune all these off. So that's that plant there, if you can see all of that. It possibly could come down a bit shorter, but for the moment I'm just going to leave it like that. Right, now let's do the spaghetti chilies. So that's got all of the chilies out. There we go. Nice little selection there. Spaghetti chilies and these Mad Hatter peppers. So pleased with that. Right, they're all pruned back as well, and I've sorted out the polytunnel a little bit. So now I want to get on and plant up these peonies. We've got a peony red, a coral charm, in fact 2 coral charms. I quite like these because they open up and the bees can get in there for these. Now, I'm no peony expert, I'm not flower expert in any way whatsoever. We did have them in our old house, planted some up the end of the garden, and they formed this lovely clump of peonies. But yeah, these are new. Haven't got any in this current garden. Now, I've been looking up about them, and peonies I think come in about 3 main types. There's sort of a herbaceous, an intersectional, and a tree. And from my research, these are herbaceous, which means they die back in the winter and overwinter, and then they're a perennial and they'll come back again in the spring. So yeah, there's also some rules I think with peonies, well not a rule, but a way to plant them to prevent them from rotting off. They don't like being moved, I don't think, much, but also you want to make sure that the crown where the shoots come out is about 2.5 to 3 centimetres just below the soil surface. You don't want to plant them too deep, and you don't want them sticking out the top. So let's open one of these coral charms. Interesting how they are sold to you. They're just in this sort of I don't know what that is in there. It's very dry. It's not a compost, it's sort of a wood chip thing really, but yeah, this is what you get. It's like this piece of peony root perhaps, all cut up with, I guess that's a little crown on it, a little shooting bud. So basically you want to make sure that that shooting bud just here is about 2.5 centimetres below the soil surface. So I'm just going to tip this out into my compost. Now this is just a mixture of compost from last year and some of that Marshall's compost that I had, which is more of a top dressing. So I've just mixed all that in. So I'll just twiddle you down and you can see what I'm doing. Don't need that. Right, I've just got some simple pots. I guess these are what, a 1, 2, 3, 4 inch or so pot, and I'm just going to put compost in and then place the peony nice and embedded in there, and then I'm just going to put not too much, just a little bit. I might even let the shoot bud show through a little bit, just like that. That's what I'm going to do. So if you know about growing peonies and that's wrong, let me know. But yeah, and then I shall water this in, and then I've got some bigger pots prepared for them down there, and I shall put them there, let them grow up, and then transplant them into those bigger pots a little bit later on in the spring. So that's the first one. See what this one's like, shall we? Right. So this one has got an even bigger shoot coming, and you can see these new little roots coming off the main part here. I guess that's a root, I'm not 100% sure. In fact, there are quite a few shoots here coming out. So right, let's do the same with this one. Again, I'm just going to push this down into the compost, not too roughly. I'm going to protect those new little roots, and then yeah, just cover those shoots up a little bit apart from this big one. So open this one carefully. There we go. Smaller bit of root. But yeah, so you've got this significant shoot, and we've got another one here. We've got little roots coming off, if you can just see them. Yeah, right, so we're going to plant this one quite carefully. Make sure the soil compost is all around. And cover it over, not too deep. Right, and we'll water these in. Must forget to label them as well. Right, let's just get these together. So I prepared these big tubs already. Going to plant them out into these when they're a bit bigger. This one in here, and that one can just sit there. Right, let's get the water and water them in. Right, so there we have it, 3 peony plants. If you haven't grown peonies before, get down to the garden centre, like I said in the last video, and get them sooner rather than later before they all dry out in those little packets, because they're not good and they sort of die off then a bit really. So yeah, if you get them now, plant them out of the weekend, you should have some lovely peonies come the springtime. Right, let's get on now. I want to sow some of these seeds and then we're going to go up to the allotment. In fact, the other thing that I didn't mention about the allotment is I've got a pear tree up there which desperately needs pruning. It's actually gone way above the height it should do for the allotment allowance. I think it's 6 foot. So yeah, I've got to go up there and do that. Right, let's get on and sow some seeds. Now the thing about sweet peas is they do like to get the roots down, and so it's quite good to grow them in quite deep cell trays. So these are from Container Wise, and I've used these for many years. Basically just fill up the cells with compost mix. I'm just using the same stuff I use for the peonies, to be honest. Nothing too special. Right, I'm just going to fill up those cells. But basically I'm just going to poke a little hole with my fingers, just a couple of centimetres down. And then these will be watered, and then they'll go up in the house on the grow mat, on the heated grow mat that I've got up there, to get them germinated. Yeah, you can see they're quite a big seed. So I'll do one per cell. You could do more, but I'll plant these singly. Right, that's the midnights done. I've put them into half of these cells, so we need a label. And then I'll put another packet in the other half. Right, a little bit of compost on top. That's great, we'll water them in a minute. Right, the next one I think we'll do is the Elegance Deep Rose. These look really good. That's the thing about sweet peas, if you don't know, it's always good to keep cutting them as they flower. If you keep cutting them, they'll flower more. If you let them set seed, they'll stop flowering. So yeah, always keep cutting the sweet peas. Again, just the same sorts of seeds. And again, I think I'll just do one per tray, per cell. And then if I've got any left over, I'll just double up with 2. Yeah, just give them a little water in, settle them in, and then we'll put a cover on them, plastic cover, which I'll show you in a minute, and we'll put them up on the heat mat for them to germinate. Okay, so what I want now is one of these covers. I'll put this over the top like that, and then this will sit in a tray like this. Yeah, put them in there, and then they can go up and sit on the heat mat in the house. Got my secateurs. I'm going to head up to the allotment and go and prune this pear tree, but that's what we've got today. I've got the chillies and the peppers, and we've done the sweet peas, so they're all in, which is great. Okay, I'll see you up at the allotment. So here we are up on the allotment. It's all looking a bit bare at the moment, but I'll spin you around. So this is the pear tree I want to get on and prune in a minute. As you can see, it's got far too tall. And yeah, it needs to be up to about here maximum really, so quite a bit of work to do on that. But yeah, beds are empty and ready for garlic and onions and things. We've still got leeks and various other bits and bobs, but yeah, not going to do that today. Going to prune this tree. Right, so I was reading up online, and obviously you want to kind of try and open up the middle. You want to stop all these things which are crossing over. If you can see these branches crossing over, so I want to tidy up the middle a bit. This fruit tree, this pear, is a Conference and Concord, I think. It's like a dual dwarf grafted onto a pixie rootstock, but yeah, see there's a bit of rock going on there, I think. But anyway, so yeah, I want to prune up most of that in the middle, and then what we want to do is we want to shorten a lot of these long leaders. Yeah, so I'm not good at pruning. I haven't really done this before, so we'll just set the tripod up and I'll get on with it and talk you through what I'm doing as I go on. As I said earlier, I'm not a professional at this. I haven't done any pruning before, but basically I'm limited to 6 foot on the allotment, so I've got to be quite severe with the pruning. I'm basically taking out all the damaged, dead and diseased wood and taking out the main leader here, bringing it down to 6 foot. I'm hoping this doesn't stimulate too many water shoots next year, but I shall just have to stay on top of it. But yeah, I think that's much better, sort of a lot more manageable going forward. There we are, let's have a look. So I've cleaned out everything out in the middle, which is growing in. Apart from this one, I thought I'd leave this one, see how it goes. Shortened everything that was rubbing, shortened all the uprights that were waving around and causing a lot of wind rock. I've had to take the tip out, that's a really big change, so hopefully that'll be okay. I'm hoping it's fairly balanced. This side of the tree, which I'm not sure which, is much stronger. So yeah, we shall just have to wait and see. I don't think I've killed it. Fingers crossed I haven't killed it. But yeah, that's it. That's the pruning of the pear tree done. Now, I can't do the others. The damson and the plum are obviously different times of year, being stone fruit. This one had some kind of disease which I cut off, so I'm hoping this is going to be okay. So I can't touch those at the moment. But yeah, it's back down to size and hopefully not going to get so much wind rock. Okay, that's been Chris at Veg Plot. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.